there folks, welcome you all to yet another podcast of mine. It has been a while, people, hasn't it? We've not done one of these. Must be about 5-6 weeks, could be a little bit longer as well. But the main reason I've not been doing them is because there's not been a huge amount of gaming news that I've wanted to talk about. We've had this lull of not really a lot going on. I mean, even if you look at the IGN bloody app, everything's movies and cartoons and anime, and like there's hardly anything going on in the world of gaming. So far, we were all waiting for these big releases to happen, which is going to come, people. It's going to pop, and next year is going to be an extraordinarily good year for games, and 2024 probably even better. So we're in for a really good ride. It's just been a little bit quiet, so I've not really had the urge and the oomph to be recording a proper one of these. We have, however, done a few of the cheap vlogs and what have you, so I've kept in touch with you that way. Recording wise on the channel, let me do this, people, but let me do no more. Flaggings up to you all, people. It's been a while since I've been able to do that. Mind you, to be fair, I've not had a flagging in... I'm saying that, but I think the last vlog was a while back as well. But yeah, I've not had a flagging for well over a month. So this is tasting very nice, people. I'm going to have a sip of this and then I'll get going. Cheers to you all. You know I'd share it with you if I could, people. I'm that kind of fella, you know. So we've been doing, well, actually what got me stoked for doing one of these was the Callisto Protocol and more recently the Dead Space Remake trailer. And I just got this urge to see what you guys thought and talk about it and sort of do a face-off and a head-to-head of the two things as a, not to compare graphically or anything, but just to sort of go into the differences of what we can see of the two things. I mean, they're very similar animals, aren't they? But we'll get into that, people. And what about channel? Well, we've been doing Steel Rising and Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, both on the Xbox Series X, as it happens. The Last of Us, I haven't actually played any more of The Last of Us Part 1. I should have needed to say Part 2. The Last of Us Part 1, which I was recording for the channel, but wasn't super popular, and I expected it not to be because we're not that kind of channel, really. I did get a few messages, though, of people saying they were really enjoying it, so I felt a bit bad by not doing any more. And I've kind of... It's one of those, when I start a game like that, I end up not finishing the bloody thing or carrying on with it because I keep thinking, should I do more for the channel? Should I not? And then I'm sort of stuck in this limbo of not wanting to play it off camera and then not, you know. I suppose we could have my... I mean, I could save my save for what I've done on the channel and do a fresh one, I suppose, if I wanted to play it off screen. So, but anyway, I actually haven't done a huge amount of gaming. So the gaming I have done, you guys are seeing on the channel, which has been Still Rising, which is really good. And apparently it's not that long. It's only about 16 hours long, and I've played 10 hours of it at least. Probably more than that, actually, because the episodes have been longer than an hour apiece. So it might not have a huge amount left in it, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And anyone who's into the sort of Dark Souls-y, Bloodborne-y type things, I'm not saying it's up to that caliber, but I've certainly had really good fun with it. And it's a lot smaller, so you'll get through it in no time at all. It's really interesting story-wise. It's really interesting take on the genre, with it being mechanicals and that sort of thing, mechs. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it, I have to say. The level up system's good. The sort of gathering and everything is really good. I mean, very, very similar to what you get on with in... Apart from smashing barrels is actually worthwhile in this game, I'm discovering, where it's not really worthwhile in in Dark Souls much. So I will be doing more of those. Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, I kind of picked that up again from a play. I hadn't touched it for about a year, and I continued the Let's Play that I'd started when the Series X first arrived, I think. And I've thoroughly enjoyed getting back into that, and you guys seem to be enjoying watching it. I have had a few people asking me to restart Dragon Age Origins, which I could do because I'm still at that point of the last part that I recorded in that Let's Play for that. So I could easily just pick that up from where the last part finished. So I'm getting quite tempted. I always miss that world when I come away from it. But anyway, in the main part, this is quite ad hoc, because I was kind of stoked about doing one, but I've not had the prep, really. I've not done any real prep for this other than getting some images up for you guys on the big screen back here. And as always, I'll try and mix in the actual video that I'm going to be talking about for whatever topic we go into. I have been jotting down, as it happens, Dead Space and Callisto Protocol are the two things really I want to talk about. We're going to talk about Google Stadia dying, and I've got a whole ream of things that I've been jotting down over the weeks to talk about, which are going to be kind of old news now, but we'll see how far we get with this. And I haven't actually put my watch on, I've just noticed. So, what time is it? Let me look at my phone. It's, geez, I'm going to need my old man glasses. I can't even see what the time is on that thing. It's 5:20 at the time of recording this. And we started, 5 minutes ago or whatever. So, let's dive in. A lot of those are links to articles. The other problem I've got is because I didn't plan ahead, people, the brick charger that I've got is actually powering the camcorder that's filming us. Now, technically speaking, I wouldn't need to have that plugged into it for the whole thing because I think the camcorder's got a bit of power anyway. My phone, however, has only got about a third of its power left. So if I start doing the reading out of articles, if we get that far, then we might run into trouble. But we'll see how far we get, because we're going to talk about a few things before we get to the older stuff that I was jotting down. But we don't have to read the whole article, I suppose. Could just sort of give my thoughts off the top of my head. And okay, so we have so that's what's happening channel wise. I'm going to continue to do more Steel Rising, hopefully see that through, and plenty more Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning, because I'm thoroughly enjoying that. I think it's probably the first time I think that I've ever, I'm trying to think now, because I played the ass off of that game when it came out on the 360, and but I don't remember ever getting to the top tier of the power moves, you know, like the what are they called in the game? Anyway, it doesn't matter, the skill tree, if you like. I don't ever remember getting the really top ones right at the top, because I always kind of spread my abilities over multiple trees. Whereas on this one, I've actually respect to become a proper mage, which is the first time I've ever done it in any game, I think. I don't think I've ever played any game all the way through as a mage. But anyway, well, actually, that's not true. I think I did it for Dragon Age Origins, because you get a trophy for playing it through as each type of character, don't you? Each origin story, that sort of thing. So I do think back in the day I might have done a mage story quest for Dragon Age Origins. But I tend not to touch mages. But anyway, the way that Kingdoms of Amalur did the mages is really good, because you're not tied to the staff doing weird and wonderful things. It is used pretty much like you would use a melee weapon, but it's sort of spitting magic out as you do it, depending on how you've crafted your staff or scepter. It'll kind of spit out ice, lightning, fire, mixture of all three of them. So that's quite cool. So you're kind of getting a bit of melee, and you're also getting a bit of distance on it as well, along with all of the stuff from the skill tree you can get from magics that you can throw out at things. And the area of effect magics, I'm just realizing, are super powerful. You know, the sort of lightning one that goes over an area and just obliterates everything within about a 10-meter radius. Ridiculous. Absolutely superb. So I'm absolutely loving playing that. I'm going to get back to that as soon as I can. And, you know, playing Steel Rising's a bit darker. Whoa, bump the mic, Steve. Out of practice, see? It's a bit darker, a bit like playing. So I don't like, I sort of play a few hours and I feel like something a bit lighter. But as I say, I think we're pretty I feel like we're well over halfway now of that game. So probably not much more to do in it. And we've not even got the bloody grapple hook yet, which we keep looking for. And it's apparently supposed to get it after the boss that I've just fought. But it gives you multiple paths to go on. And I don't know if I've gone on the path that gets me the grapple hook. But the grapple hook seems to be something that'll open up areas that you've already passed way ages ago. So it's kind of almost something you would do to backtrack on yourself, to pick up stuff, you know, clear out areas and that sort of thing, which is a bit disappointing, really. But if the game is only 16 hours long, it's a bit of a shame that you have to wait this long to get the grapple hook. And I've only just got a move that lets you shoot forward, which means you can jump and shoot forward and get into areas you couldn't get into before. So it's quite late into the game where it's giving you. You can't get them any earlier than this. You know, you have to get to that point of the story in order to get the thing that I've just got, and other such things that you pick up on the way. So it's a weird one. Not sure why. I think the grapple hook is intended to be go back and go to all the places you couldn't get into on your way here, and give you a reason to go and revisit areas. So fair enough, I suppose. Get another sip of this. Outside of what I'm playing on the channel, I posted up yesterday, people, just yesterday, that I have. Well, in fact, I've had a Discord account for quite some time, but I wasn't quite sure what to do with it, and I found it a little bit weird to get my head around. I don't know why, because I'm a techie person, so I don't know why I found it a bit odd. But I just found it a little bit weird in its setup process. It didn't seem to be as simplistic as other things. However, I think if you're not a technical person, a lot of the way that it sort of sells itself to you is a little bit kind of like, so, you know, Steve Server, for example, like folk who aren't sort of techie folk will be like, what's that mean? So, I mean, that didn't confuse me. I kind of understood, but I'm still, you know, the little sort of hashtag things going on and all that malarkey. It's just a little bit, just sort of getting my head around it. Anyway, I have set up a channel, people. I've set up a couple of servers, one for sort of more personal, well, for Craigie Boy, really, more than anybody else, but he's not got a Discord account yet. And I've set a Discord server up for the channel so that I can chat to you guys. So that is there, and I will put the link in the description below. And there's already 3, Professor Norgatron is on there, King Rat Fella's on there, and Jamie Orton, I think, is the other one. So we've got 3 folk on there as of yesterday. And it just means that I can instantly communicate with you all, and you can all instantly communicate with me without me having to check YouTube or Twitter or wherever. And to be honest with you, I'm finding Twitter a really toxic place. I've found Twitter a very toxic place in general for a long time, and I don't spend any time on there other than I've actually created an account, a second account, that I have just followed a shit ton of different gaming media and all that sort of stuff on it, and I haven't followed anyone, you know, normal folks. None of me friends or anyone, and it's just an account I use just for keeping up with gaming news. The account that's still there, that some of you guys will contact me on from time to time, is still there, but I mean, now that Elon Musk's taken over, it makes me want to delete my accounts even more, you know, because I just, that man is just, if he's not a Bond baddie, I don't know who is. It's off his head, that bloke. So I'm all kinds of not really into Twitter. So this Discord has given us a great way to keep in touch. YouTube is great because you kind of, I can see the instance. So I still want to see comments and what have you on YouTube. Of course I do, because I want to see what you guys think of the videos on there. It's nice to have the comments and the thumbs ups and that sort of stuff. However, it is nice to then have something that's more instant communication like Discord. I'm not going to say that I can answer immediately every time, but it's a great way to keep in touch just in general. Maybe not about anything specific, but just to throw up, oh, flipping heck, I just saw the thingy trailer, or oh, flipping heck, I just saw this happen on Twitter. So the more people that can join in with that, with the Discord channel, fantastic. It's Joystick Steve. If you search for me, it should pop up. However, as I say, I will put the link to the Discord chat on the description below, people. So please come and join in. I mean, it's a fantastic way for us. I mean, I set this channel up specifically to communicate and link up with the gamers. So it's a fantastic way for us to do it. I think what kind of spurred me on to start using it now is because they've integrated it into the Xbox, which means if they sort it out on the PlayStation side, which if I'm on the Xbox Series X, I mean, I have both consoles obviously, but Craigie Boy's just got the PlayStation 5, so if he's playing on the PlayStation 5 and I'm playing on the Xbox and I'm not recording, then we could in theory chat over Discord, although he doesn't have to have it on the PlayStation. I could chat on from the Xbox and he could open it on his phone or whatever. So I just think it's a great way. I know that it's very heavily used in streaming and gaming, so all sorts of gaming things going on with it, and I'd be very surprised if it doesn't end up getting bought up by one of the big players. But anyway, so I'm really stoked about it. It's been really nice. I mean, just today I was throwing up random messages about, hey, this is what I bought when I was out shopping. Nothing, no games, but I did get some Blu-rays, people. The Underworld Blu-ray collection. Woo! Bit of Kate Beckinsale, thank you. Tight outfits, thank you. You're seeing my dark side, people. Cool. This is going down a bit sweetly after about a month and a half on beer, people. Whew, I'm gonna be a cheap date tonight, I tell you. Anywho, so please come and join in if you've got a Discord account. If you haven't got a Discord account, just set one up and come and join in. So yeah, I'm already finding it a nice natural place to just chit chat, which is really nice. It's just it's almost just like having any kind of messaging chat area, really. It's really cool. Yeah, come and join in, people. Please do. The more, the merrier. And of course, the more people that join in, you guys will meet other people, not just me. And you can all chit chat with each other about things you see in gaming. So it's a great way to build a little community for the channel. So please do come and join in, people, with the Joystick Steve Discord channel. Thank you. Right. Should we move on to talking about... Now, I watched... Let's move on to the Dead Space Callisto Protocol face-off. It was great. I love the word face-off. And I loved the film Face-Off when it came out at the time. That's got to be old, that film now, isn't it? Face-off. John Travolta. There's one of those films that was like, that could never happen. Like, you know what I mean? Man dressed as a giant bat, flying around, saving people, that can happen. Come on now. You know, that in theory could happen. You know? Gadgetscape, you know, fancy car. But taking someone else's face and swapping it with another man's face, come on now. I mean, the whole thing just doesn't... The whole understructure wouldn't work. Like, the whole bone structure wouldn't be right to put that face from that guy on that face over there. I mean, it would just, you know... the whole thing just... It shouldn't work, but it did. It's a great film. Just one of those 90s... Was that a 90s? I think it was a 90s, wasn't it? It could have been a noughties, but just one of those films that was like, this shouldn't work, but it was just fantastic fun. There was loads of films back in the day like that. I was thinking that the other day. There's no... Yeah, where's the... I mean, Jason Statham's still kicking, so he's going strong. But where's the Arnies and the Slys and... You know, where are those people of today? Those sort of action movies. The Mel Gibsons and all that. Bruce Willis. Where are all these people? Where are all those sort of films? Like, we don't get good films like that anymore. It's all CGI bollocks we get now. Proper good action movies, man, from back in the day. Proper stunt guys doing the proper shiz. You just don't get enough of it. I mean, you've only got to look at how well films like that do when they do come out. I mean, Tom Cruise is still doing it, man. He's, 60 now? He's still kicking the Mission Impossibles and doing his own stunts, flying his own planes. Top Gun Maverick was superb, man. Really good. And even the Expendables and stuff does really well. Like, there's a massive place in the market for these sort of action movies. And everybody get them anymore. But we don't seem to have the... I mean, I can kind of... I mean, I'm a massive wrestling fan, and I'm a big fan of The Rock back in the day when he was in that. But I've yet to see... I mean, I watched the Jumanji movies, and they were good fun and stuff. But there's not... I just find The Rock... He's not Arnie, is he? You know what I mean? I mean, I'm sure he's doing it. I mean, to be fair, I have watched his films and I have giggled and I've never come away thinking I was robbed of cash or anything. Mind you, normally watching them on a streaming service anyway. But it's just not that sort of caliber for me, even still. And even watching the Black Adam trailer, it's still all CGI bollocks going on with that. It's just another bloody super... Honestly, if I never saw another superhero film again, it would be too soon at the minute. There's been that fucking many of them. Having said that, I watched Thor Love and Thunder last night. And I have to say, it took everything I had not to turn that film off in the first 20 to 25 minutes, because it was so ridiculous. They turned it into something that Thor really wasn't. It was just weird. It's like they turned it into a comedy. And even a comedy, there was even little comedies inside that comedy. The whole thing was just fucking bizarre. And then after about half an hour, it actually got quite good. So I sort of stuck with it after that. And I actually really enjoyed it from the sort of half-hour point onward. But before that, it was just fucking weird. Like, I don't know who the fuck was, or what they were thinking directing the first 30 minutes of that film. Utterly bizarre. But I ended up enjoying it from that point onward. So, but I think it's the first time I've touched a superhero film for a while. But it's very, I mean, well, the one that I've watched recently that I thoroughly enjoyed was The Batman, the new one. And he was great. I mean, it was a bit like watching teenage angst Batman, you know, like, even though he's not a teenager. But what was superb about it was a bit, anyone that watches AEW wrestling, it was a bit like watching a Darby Allin Batman, you know what I mean? Waiting for him to get his skateboard out at one point. But what was superb about it was super dark, And it was like watching a serial killer movie rather than watching a film just to be all about the special effects and massive action scenes and stuff. I mean, there is, action in it, but it was just superb to see them do a different spin, and because that's what Batman was in the end. He was a puzzle solver and a mystery solver, and it was just brilliant. It was like watching a proper find the serial killer movie, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I believe they've now confirmed that there is a second one of those coming, so I hope they stick to that sort of vibe with it, because it was superb. Really enjoyed that. Got way off topic there, people. Should we get... I don't even know where I was going with any of that, people. I've got way off track. No idea what I'm doing. Should we just start afresh? Let's slice it there. Take part 2 and move on to Dead Space and Callisto Protocol, because I'm sure there was a reason that I spun off in that direction. But anyway. Right, let's crack in. So, I watched the 2 trailers for both of these. It was the Dead Space trailer. Well, actually, the Callisto Protocol trailer got me buzzing, wanting to chat to you guys about it. And then I didn't do that. I think it was about 8 days ago or something that new trailer came out. And then the Dead Space remake trailer came out, I think, yesterday or the day before. And I was just like, oh, this is superb. It's the first time, actually, I've seen a trailer for the Dead Space remake that got me buzzing for it. But I think because up to that point, I kept seeing, because they kept doing these developers sharing with us what they're doing while they're developing it, which I do like, but they did it so much that it was like, please stop showing us so much. Like, just, it's interesting to see some of this stuff, but it comes a bit tedious when you kind of seeing this stuff all of the time, and it's all janky and it's not quite right, and it kind of takes the buzz away for me a bit. Maybe a lot of other people like it. People that are in game development might like seeing what they're doing as a process, or people thinking about getting into game development. So hat off to them. I tip my hat to them. It's fine. And I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but for me, it just takes a little bit away. So I kind of stopped watching these live streams they were doing. Because every time I watched them, I was like, well, that looks a bit janky and a bit frame rates look all over the place. I'm not sure. Like, I was getting the vibe that they were making it look pretty, but once you moved the camera around, it wasn't so good. But I have to say, when I saw this trailer come out, having said that, when I saw the trailer, it looked like it was in 60 FPS. But in fact, watching it back, or at least the one I was watching before this, it isn't actually in 60 FPS. So I've still yet to see 60 FPS panning and stuff in either game. I'm not picking one over the other here. But the trailer was great, and it was super smooth, and I did get a bit of a buzz for it. I was getting little tingles for it, people. And then I was like, I need to watch the Callisto one again, just to try and compare the two. And I have to say, if you sit and watch them back to back, there's so much similarity between these two games. The people making Callisto clearly were the people that created the Dead Space in the first place. The Dead Space people. And you can see it. Dead Space is all over. It might as well be called Callisto Dead Space, or Callisto Space, or Dead Callisto. Dead Callisto. That's either a really good song. Dead Callisto. Is that not a song by... Come on now, Dead Callisto. It sounds like a song from, what do you call them? Hotel California boys. Whose name's escaping me for some bizarre reason at the moment. Anyway, Dead Callisto. It's going to be going through my head, that. Anyway, they're very, very, very similar animals. You can see it all over them. What I do like, though, is the way that Callisto Protocol has brought the whole melee part into it. And I feel like the Dead Space guys are kind of tied. They're kind of between a rock and a hard place, so far as they want to make it a little bit different, but they don't want to take away the original vibe that was there. They don't want to take away the things that people loved about that first game. So you can tell from the trailer, it looks like they've kept all of the key stuff in that was in the first game. All the story, all the paths, all the story type paths are going to be the same. You can even see all the getting dragged down the corridor stuff that was there when you go into certain corridors at certain points of the story. And it looks like all of that's been kept in, but they did say they were going to try and expand the Ishimura a bit, and I hope they have, because looking at the trailer, the only thing that's not putting me off, you see what I mean. But the only thing that's sort of taking the buzz away a little bit is that it looks like the game I've played already, but shinier and nicer. And that's fine. And, we've done it in other places, and we've done it with The Last of Us Part 1. And it is great to play that game, but it does feel like I am just playing the exact same game again. And every so often I go, woo, look at how nice the bushes move now in this one. That's the sort of stuff you're looking at. Or look how great the facial animations are and the character stuff. And it is amazing to see it looking this great. But will it be enough for me to buy Dead Space on day one? Will I have enough of a buzz to pay that money for it? And it's coming out the woodwork again that, 70 quid for a game that it's a remake, But only if it's digital, people. If you pre-order these things physically, you'll still get, well, I think I saw Dead Space for $52.85 in a couple of places, so that you can get it on physical version for 52 quid. Callisto Protocol you can get for $48.95 or thereabouts. So they're similar type. But no, in fact, it was cheaper than that. I think the Callisto you can get for about 45 quid. And I kind of get why they're doing that, because it's going to be, in my opinion, it might even be better than Dead Space. But it's a new franchise. They need to get people interested, and you don't want to price yourself out. And the Callisto Protocol's coming on all platforms. So you're getting it on last gen and this gen. Now it's going to be interesting to see if they've come unstuck there, but I don't think they will have done. I think because these are linear games, right? So you've not got massive open worlds to worry about. Where there's going to be limitations in what you can do for, like Cyberpunk did with they're probably wishing they'd never touched it with a barge pole when it came to last gen. So for me, I think they've done the right thing with Callisto Protocol, because it's a brand new franchise. It's too many millions of consoles to not be making that game for. And I don't think, with it being a linear game, I think there's not really any ties. You're only talking about making things a lot shinier on the new versions, and using, there's all sorts of stuff you can do in there, So I think they've done the right thing. Get off that first one out with a solid start on all platforms, and then you'll probably find if they get a second one made, then you're probably going to see that on new gen only. Say new gen. This gen, are we calling it this gen now? It's been 2 years, people, hasn't it? So at the moment, you can see, I have seen what they've done with Dead Space. Everything's kind of the same, but it's grander, right? So you walk into a room that is the same room you walked into on the old one, but it's just higher and wider and bigger. Like everything, like they've tried to make the Ishimura feel like a massive thing in every room you walk into, unless it's a broom cupboard, because that is what it is, people. I'm guessing. So I think they've just tried to make everything feel bigger and make you feel like you're this tiny thing in this massive nightmare. And that all looks fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to playing the game again. However, I've platinumed that game on the PlayStation 3. I have maxed out the gamer points for it on the Xbox. And I've also just recently played through Dead Space 1 and 2 on the Series. Well, actually, I played them on the Series S because I was up visiting Aaron Brew at the time, and I'd bought him an Xbox Series S as a housewarming present because he's a PS5 guy. But I thought it would be nice for him to have the option to swing Game Pass on, and if big games come out like Starfield or whatever, and he wants to get thrown into that, which won't be on the PlayStation 5. So I've just given him the ability to play on any platform, people. So, and he's got his big Uber laptop as well, so he can play, and his Nintendo, so he literally has got everything open to him now. But we sat together and played Dead Space 1 and 2 back to back on his system. I then came back here and played Dead Space. Did we though? Am I lying? I might be lying here, people, because I came back here and I replayed. Oh no, because I recorded Dead Space for the channel. That's what it was. Yeah. So, yeah, I did. I came back and I played Dead Space 2, I think it was here. But, yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed them, but it's whether or not now, after doing that and already having platinumed and maxed out the Gs on them all that time ago, have I really got it in me to play this whole story over? Well, I will. I will buy it and I will play it. But is it something that I'm going to need to have on day one at 50 quid? I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether I should just wait, because I feel like a remake will come down in price pretty quickly anyway. So it's one of those. I feel like I will cave in and I will get it, because it is one of my favourite games of all time. And I do, the more I see of it, the more I think, ooh. And it'll be nice to see the bits they have change. I mean, one big thing they have changed is that the flying in Dead Space 1 is, well, it's non-existent. You don't fly, you push yourself from one part to another with your magnetic boots. Whereas in Dead Space 2 and 3, you were able to, your suit has a jetpack type thing on it where you can fly around. That jetpack thing's been brought into this remake, which means you can now fly it. That part of it's going to be far more fun to do, and it'll be interesting to see what they've done with those bits, because they might have introduced a few extra corridors where you're flying around, maybe, because the very nature of changing that flying might have changed what they want to do to get you from that part of the game to that part of the game, possibly, rather than what you had to do in the original one. So it'd be interesting. It might not have done. They might have kept them the same and it's just easier to get around. But it'll be interesting. From the clip, you can kind of see there's corridors you're flying around, and I didn't recognise them. So, yeah, because you're flying through almost like a, I don't know, ventilation system or something. And I'm thinking, well, what was that in the first one? I mean, there was a few places where you had to use the magnetic boots to jump from one bit to the other and then get through. But anyway, it'd be interesting to see. But it's looking really, really good. But as I say, I've yet to see 60 FPS at all on either of these. I've certainly not seen anything to this point they've posted up that has been, that the trailer I watched before doing this and the one that I'll be showing you, when you look at the options on YouTube, it's just 1080p or higher. There is no 1080p 60 or anything like that. So they have posted it up at 30 FPS. And it's the same with the Callisto protocol. And I think the reason they do it is because they want to try and show off the 4K. Well, it is the 4K, because if it was just 1080p, then they'd probably have a 60 FPS on it as well. Because the Dead Space one, you do have the option to move it up to 4K. So I think they just want to make sure that people understand that there is a 4K way of playing this game. I don't know why they do that, because the way that the videos play back on YouTube anyway, because it's all compressed and everything, I don't think you really lose much by just posting it up at 1080p or 1440p at 60 FPS. If that game can push out 1440p at 60 FPS, I'm going to be super delighted, both of the games. But Callisto Protocol, I think the only thing that's concerning me at the moment is that it's looked a few of the bits actually this isn't true. Everything I've seen has just been at 30 FPS, but I saw the Digital Foundry guys talking about it, and they were saying that they'd seen, or they were looking at judging some footage or something, and they said it did seem a little bit janky in places. So I'm hoping that's all getting smoothed out and everything, but it could just be that the higher visual modes are a little bit struggling with the fact that it's 4K and stuff. But if they've got that, be highly unlikely that either of these games don't have a performance mode, and that's what I'll be playing them in. And as long as they've got a performance mode and that performance mode is smooth at 1080p or 1440p, then I'm going to be super delighted. 1440p will be over the moon. I mean, that's plenty with 60 FPS. You know, when the day comes, people don't realise the jump there is between 1080p and 4K. It's fecking massive. Like it's not like moving from 720 to 1080. Like that jump is nowhere near the jump that goes from 1080p to 4K. It's like magnitudes ahead of it. It's like way over here. It's taking this picture and making it fucking size of the room. It's massive. So the reason that we don't get 4K 60 isn't a shock or a surprise to me or anyone that kind of knows a bit about technical stuff. It is what it is. We will get there, but at the moment, 1440p at 60 FPS is the sweet spot for me. That's brilliant if we can get that. So fingers crossed. Story-wise, both games, well, we know what the Dead Space story is, and they've stuck true to it. Another thing, they've brought the voice actor from Dead Space 2 and 3, and they've brought him into Dead Space 1, and that might sound stupid for people that don't know Dead Space. The reason that's important is because the character Isaac, who's the main character in this story, the main protagonist, he doesn't talk at all in Dead Space. They did it on purpose to make, because they were basically trying to make it a pure horror type thing. And other characters talk, but Isaac never says anything at all through that game. And it was one of those games that was one of the first games to not have anything on screen apart from the story, right? Which is why he's got the health bar on his suit and all the things you use on the suit, the status bars on the suit, everything was on the suit, and the menu was in the suit's hologram thing. There was no icons on the screen at all. Everything was like watching a movie. And that's exactly what they've done in the Callisto Protocol. And along with that, they decided not to make Isaac speak because they wanted to make you feel isolated and alone all the time. And conversation kind of eases the tension a bit. So they were very deliberate with it. However, in reality, the shit that was going on, it was like you would say something, like you wouldn't be... It didn't make any sense. Isaac was like, not saying anything, just walking around, letting people boss me about. And in the trailer, you hear Isaac talking to people, and they said they were very, very careful about the only dialogue they're giving Isaac in this game is reacting to the dialogue from the other characters. Whether that dialogue's been added to from the original game, I don't know, but he will only speak when it's in conversation with them as part of that progressive story and stuff. So, but it sounded like it fit perfectly when you watch it in the trailer. Having said, you'll not hear him speak, obviously, if I've got the trailer behind me in what I'm chit-chatting through just now, because I'll have it volume down and you wouldn't hear me. So if you go and watch it, it's very, very cool. I like the fact that Isaac, I love these names though, right? They're using biblical type names, aren't they? Isaac, and now we've got Jacob. I love the fact they're using names like that. It just sits well in this horror vibe. Don't know why, it just does. For me anyway. I do feel like these two guys, well, I don't know if they're going to be similar animals, but I think they've got similar mentalities. But it was interesting watching the Callisto Protocol story. I think what Callisto Protocol I was going to get into earlier was that the way that Callisto Protocol is going to bring melee right into the forefront of the action. And in fact, they've said that you're going to have to use melee because there's not a lot of it lying around. So you're going to have to decide when you hang on to your ammo for when it really matters, because you're going to want to get rid of the other guys with your melees so that you've got that for the big fights when you get to them, or the harder enemies. So I like that because it means that the horror is going to be right in your face. It also means you're going to have to use other tools at your disposal, and it's not just running around shooting stuff with a plasma cutter. The melee in Dead Space was literally just swinging your arm like this, or stomping on the ground to smash something, or stomp on its head. So I like the fact they've gone down that melee route. I hope it works well. It looks like it's working well. So you've got melee, you've got the kinesis to throw things around. Whether they've called it that in the Callisto Protocol, I'm not sure. But all of the same attributes are kicking around in both games, but they've kind of taken things and just twisted them a little bit more and modernized things a bit more in Callisto Protocol. I love the fact they've gone down this melee route. It kind of mixes up the action, so you're not all about just shooting and keeping things at distance where you can. It's going to be right up there in your face while you're fighting it. So I hope it works well. I hope it feels good and obviously I don't know how any kind of crafting or any kind of leveling up stuff works in Callisto. Haven't seen enough. Well, I don't know if they've showed any of that off or not, but I haven't seen any of it. I have to say, if I have to pick one over, I mean, if it was a choice of having one or the other on day one, it would be Callisto Protocol without any shadow of a doubt, because I want to see what the original guys that designed Dead Space, that came up with the Dead Space game, have done with this new IP. And I feel like it's a fresh environment. It's a similar idea, but it's a fresh story, fresh character, fresh environment, new places. So absolutely, it'll be Callisto Protocol. It'll be the one that I would jump to first. Is it going to be the better game? Well, we don't know, because we won't know until we get our hands on it. Dead Space, I know what I'm going to get. I know what the story is that I'm going to get. I know, other than flying around being better, I know the mechanics of and the way that you take apart necromorphs and all that has been adapted and made better, and shooting the limbs off more. They've made it more count more than it did, and you've got to shoot through an amount of flesh to get the bone to come off, and all this sort of stuff, which is really cool. And there seems to be a similar thing going on with Callisto Protocol, the way they've done all the flesh stuff with that. So I am really excited for both games. It's just kind of, you know what you're going to be getting with Dead Space Remake, so far as we've seen the story before, and I've seen it lots of times before. It's just going to be very, very cool seeing what little things they've done to put their spin on it, any new areas they might have come up with, and just seeing how that game feels with the voice actor back in it, with the grander environments, with the shinier everything on top of it. I mean, it's going to be very, very sweet, I think. Up until this point, I wasn't overly convinced that Motive were going to make this game anything that I was going to be like, whoa, I've got to have that. Like, I've got tingles and stuff. But that last trailer got me my vibe up for it, people. So yeah, that's me. If it's a face-off for me, Callisto Protocol's winning it at the moment, simply. But it doesn't matter. I mean, I can buy both on day one. But for me, they had to make their deadline for Callisto Protocol. I hope by making that deadline for December, they've not, we're not going to get a game that's needing patched and all sorts of sorting out for bloody ages, because they knew they had to make that. When they said that the Dead Space remake was coming out, Callisto Protocol guys were like, we've got to get our game out before then. Because if you release Dead Space Remake and then do Callisto Protocol afterwards, I think you're going to lose a lot of people that have just played Dead Space thinking, oh, well, it looks the same sort of thing, so I'm not going to... Yeah, they just felt like they had to get it out there first. And I think that was the one thing that I kept saying. People kept saying the game was going to get delayed, but it was the one thing where I was like, I don't think it will get delayed, because they want that game out before Dead Space Remake comes out. They want it to hit home before that remake comes out. And it looks like they're going to make it. I mean, if they were going to delay it, I think we would have heard it by now, people. I mean, we're into October now. We are well into October now. You've only got November. It's out on the 3rd of December. So it'd be very, very odd if that game was delayed now. That said, I don't think I've seen anything saying this game's gone gold, and that's it, job done. So I did see it for Ragnarok the other day, though, and Ragnarok's out in November. So it's not probably, it shouldn't be surprising then. That was just yesterday that I saw the Ragnarok one saying, we've gone gold, the game is ready. And that's out in November, so I suppose they're cutting it fine, aren't they, them? And they're a big studio. Callisto Protocol guys are a AAA lot, but it's a smaller studio, so I guess we might see some sort of gone gold thing soon, hopefully, fingers crossed. I really hope they do make their target point. It'd be very... I mean, I would cope if that game did get delayed. It'd be fine. I mean, I'd rather have a game that's ready. I always say this. I'd rather have it's disappointing, but I'd rather have a game that was ready than rushed. But I feel like they wanted to hit that target so badly. They've probably been crunching for a year. They just wanted that game out before the Dead Space remake came out. There's kind of a part of me that feels like if the Dead Space remake was never happening, they'd probably just have pushed the game into next year and given themselves a bit more breathing space. But they're both looking good, people. I have to say, both trailers look immense. I mean, I might have been repeating these trailers in the background while I've been talking, just so you can see them a few times. But blimey, I didn't actually plan to speak about them for that long, but there's so many things popping into my head from the trailers because I just watched them. I mean, I'm trying to think what the only thing that kind of from a gameplay perspective. I mean, the only thing I don't know with the Callisto Protocol is because you're using standard type weapons. And it's not got a spin that we know of, like the plasma cutter and stuff like that. Part of the cool part of Dead Space was you weren't using normal guns. I think there's one machine gun in it or something. But every other weapon was a tool. It was an engineer's tool made into a weapon that was then used to take these creatures apart. And there's a kind of a little bit of a shame that, oh, right, I've just got a pistol, or I've just got... I mean, don't take away from the fact that it's fun, but... And the other thing with Callisto was that came out recently was instead of shooting the limbs off them, they've got these tentacle things that come out of them at certain points, and you've got to shoot the tentacles off them, and that weakens them and all this sort of stuff. And it's really important in a fight because it will take them down quicker than just shooting them anywhere else. So they have put a spin of that in the Callisto Protocol, which is quite cool, which I do like. That said, though, I am going to be very interested to see what these weapons are. The melee weapons will kind of be what we'd expect, I suppose. I'm hoping there's a lot of... It would be nice if there's a lot of ways you can kind of mix and match your weapons and stuff, but I don't know if we're going to get that, or if it's just going to be set, here's an electric baton, here's a whatever club, and here's a pistol, and here's a machine gun. I'm just kind of hoping it's a bit more interesting than that, and you can mix and match things together, maybe. I mean, it was one of the... I mean, Dead Space 3 was the one that didn't hit home for me, but one of the cool parts about Dead Space 3 was that you could mix and match your weapons the way that they did it. And I would have the force push as a secondary weapon on top, or underneath a javelin, for example, or something like that. So when enemies came at you, I would fire the secondary weapon first and push them back, and then fire the javelin and scoot them against a wall. So that was really cool. It was nice to be able to mix stuff up like that, but that game was just all kinds of not right. But Dead Space 1 and 2 are the peaches of that trilogy, without any shadow of a doubt. It went way off kilter, that Dead Space 3. But I'm hoping that we might see some of that design work maybe pitch up in Callisto Protocol, where you can mix and match stuff together. Almost like you see in the sort of zombie games like Dead Island and stuff, where you can make a club with spikes as a basic example, stuff like that, where you can kind of mix stuff up a bit that are handy for better at taking enemies down. We'll see, though. It's going to be very interesting to see what we get with the weapons I have seen in the trailers have looked quite cool. And the kinesis is looking very powerful, where you can push things into grinders and stuff like that, which is quite nifty. So, anyway, as a general face-off, they both look like they're at loggerheads. The only thing that's making me go Callisto Protocol wins every time is because it's fresh and new, and I haven't seen that world or that character yet. So that's what's winning out for me for the face-off. But as I say, more than likely I'm going to have both games on day one, so it's not going to really matter. But there's my opinion, if you want it. Dead Space will forever be one of my favourite games of all time, and 2 for that matter. But it's just the want for something new and fresh. And I think, what did we hear the other day? They're going to remake Horizon Zero Dawn. It's like, for the love of fucking Christ, like, nobody has anybody asked for that game to be remade? It's like The Last of Us is a little bit different. Like, that game is an iconic masterpiece, and we understand that they want that game to sit side by side with The Last of Us Part 2, which is not so much a masterpiece for me, but they want it to sit side by side, and they want what is it, 10 years old now, that game? And they want a new generation of gamers to see that game in new glory. I understand, it's great, it's fine, you can either buy it or you don't. The last thing we fucking need is every game, and I'm swearing people because it's winding me up, is every fucking game you can think of being remade just to cash grab. And I don't see, where's the audio? I mean, you could tell me if I'm wrong, right? And Horizon Zero Dawn, I've talked about it on the channel before. I didn't find that game. I could not get into that game. Like, I've tried 3 times to get into that game, and it doesn't land with me at all. It doesn't fit with me. I just find it uninspiring and the world uninspiring. I don't know what it is. Like, I just don't get it. It's a beautiful game. It plays great. Well, there is. I do know certain things that wind me up. It's like the god awful weapon and armor system for a start, which was just so boring and monotonous. There was nothing interesting about those weapons or armor, and it was literally the same fucking things at every shop you went to. You had to change armor in order to fight different enemies, or change weapon. It was just far too, like, if you're going to make an RPG, make an RPG. Don't make a massive world like that and then don't have the loot system to back yourself up with it. Because the biggest thing for me in any RPG, well, one of the biggest things, it's a massive seller for any RPG, is the loot system. The loot system and the armor and weapon system is in that when I talk about loot system. And if you don't have an interesting armor and weapon system, yeah, it's just not, it's not going to happen for me. So yeah, that game doesn't say. I don't understand what the audience is for a remake of Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, it's already got a 60 FPS patch. That's enough. Like, that game doesn't need to be done in a remake for me. I mean, that is just a royal waste of time where they could be making something new. You know what I mean? Like, why would you? Why would you spend all that time remaking Horizon Zero Dawn and not put money into making the Days Gone 2? Like, said that PlayStation were like, no, we're not letting you make Days Gone 2. It's like, why not? I mean, I saw somewhere that Days Gone was actually sold better than other franchises that have been allowed to go on and make a second one. I mean, that makes no sense at all. So I don't know what that's all about. So there you go. I am super excited for both games now. I wasn't overly excited about Dead Space until I saw this recent trailer and I was like, oh, this is actually starting to hit home now that I'm seeing it like that. Callisto Protocol one was the same. That looked superb as well. So I am buzzing for both of them, people. How long have I been rattling on about those two games for? What did I say? What time was it? Was it 5:20 when I started this? Or 5? I'm wondering if it was 5:20 or 5:40, people. I think it was 5:20. My goodness me, people. Dry throat. Anyway, let me know in the comments below. I know that as a channel, we're more of an RPG channel, but I do have a soft spot for these sort of horror games. Same with Resi. So I do like to talk about these games. I know a lot of you are into Dead Space, so I'm interested to know what your thoughts are about both of these new trailers and what your vibes are about both of these games. And if you're getting both of them day one, or are you just you're going to wait on Dead Space, or are you going to not bother with Callisto? But I don't think I've come across anybody who is a Dead Space fan that isn't looking forward to the Callisto Protocol. Let me know, people. Let me know. Get in those comments and let me know. Or get on the Discord and let me know. Whichever you prefer, people. Get into that Discord channel, people. Let's chat. So there you are. Here's a topic. Let's move on slightly. Google Stadia is dead, people. Well, it's dying. I guess it's got a month left or something. Google have decided to just dump Google Stadia altogether, which was their cloud gaming service where you could just play games on any platform anywhere with a controller and everything was running off the server. And I said when it came out that it would never last, but I think there was a couple of podcasts there'll be a couple of podcasts somewhere, or at least one, where I specifically say the reason that that's going to die is because of Xbox cloud gaming. Because Microsoft, the minute Microsoft got that going, Stadia was doomed. Like, there was no way Stadia was going to survive that, because everything Microsoft are doing is they're doing it better, and it goes hand in hand with a console environment. If you want the console, then great. If you don't, then you can just cloud game anywhere from anywhere. And the money Microsoft have got, I mean, they were always going to make it. I know Google are mega wealthy as well, but they were never going to be able to take Microsoft on at that game. At the minute cloud gaming was getting done by Microsoft, and PlayStation are doing it now as well with PlayStation Now and what have you for the PS3 games and all that malarkey. But the minute they start, certainly Xbox started doing cloud gaming, Google Stadia was doomed, even if it wasn't before. And the reports of games not running very well on it, and the lags, and you had to have some sort of really super. I mean, I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you've been a Google Stadia player. But I don't know anyone that's been playing on Google Stadia that's talked to me about it. But from everything we've heard, the versions that you were playing weren't overly great because you're streaming it over the cloud. It's not like you can just sit and play 60 FPS 4K from a massive server, because you can't stream that fast. So I don't think the experience has been particularly good anyway, and I think developers were finding it hard to make things work there and stuff. So I'm not surprised whatsoever, and I think it probably does gaming more good than bad for Google Stadia to just vanish, to be honest with you, because it also kind of solidifies that consoles are far from dead, and if anything, consoles are probably still more loved now than they've ever been. So yeah, I'm a happy bunny as far as that's concerned. I say that. If people have lost their jobs because of that, obviously I don't like seeing that. That's a bit of a shame, and I hope that those people can find work in the gaming industry somewhere else. That's the only downside to it. When things fail, people tend to suffer for it. So I hope there's not too many people going to be out of work because of that. But for me, it was doomed from the off, as far as I'm concerned. So there you go. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Google Stadia falling down. Dead Callisto. Told you it was going to be in my head all night. Hey, what else have we got here, people? I've talked so long about those two things. I've probably not got much time to talk about after this other stuff now. Yes, God of War Ragnarok going gold was the other thing. We talked about it earlier. By the way, Dead Space is out on the 3rd of December, and Callisto Protocol is out on the 3rd of December, and Dead Space Remake is out on the January the 27th, I think. Something like that. I thought I'd written it down here, but I haven't done. Anyway, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's January 27th or January 23rd, and the 3rd of December for Callisto Protocol. Not long to wait, people. However, that all said, God of War Ragnarok has gone gold, and it's coming out on the 9th of November, people. That is a month away. Bloody hellfire. Now, here, the thing is, I'm struggling to get excited for it. I mean, I loved the first one. I absolutely loved it. But it's like, I don't know, there's just no buzz for me to play the second one. I don't know why. I've got to get it day one, though, haven't I? I mean, I don't think you guys are going to want to see me play it on the channel. But, I mean, if it plays just like the last one did, and it's all kind of one scene and everything flowing like the last one did, and I mean, the action and the axe stuff and all that malarkey was just superb. I mean, it was a fantastic game. But I don't think I've ever gone back and played it again. And that's a sign of something in a game for me. Usually there's something about a game that I'm really into that makes me go back and play it. Like The Last of Us, the first one, I must have played it back to back about 4 times. Dead Space, same, until I got the trophies. And then I had to, that was on the for the game points on the Xbox. And then I had to, when I got my PS3, the first thing I did was buy Dead Space 1 and 2 for the PlayStation 3 so I could do it all over again and get the trophies. So it's a sign in a game if it's not something I want to go back and play again and again to get those, well, not necessarily to get the trophies, but just to see it through again and play it again. It's always a sign of a game that sits well with me if it's something I go back to just by nature, just want to go back and play it again. Kingdoms of Amalur, I must have played this, I don't know how many times I've played Kingdoms of Amalur now. Skyrim, you know, there's a multitude of games where I'll go back and revisit them. Fallout, which I've never finished, but I keep going back and playing it. What's that about? Never seen the end of Fallout, people. Fallout 4. Fallout 4, keep going back and playing it, never seen the end of it. Fallout 3, I saw the end of that. I did finish that, and I think it was on the PlayStation I finished that. It's probably Liam Neeson, though, wasn't it, to be fair? Stick Liam Neeson in anything. So, yeah, I don't know what... I mean, I feel like I have to get it day one, right? But it doesn't matter where you buy that game, it's going to be 70 quid because it's a PlayStation exclusive. Some kind of... And it's because it's a PlayStation exclusive, it will be 70 quid for the next 2 years, most likely. So, I don't really know what to do about that. I might do. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below if you guys are getting Ragnarok, God of War Ragnarok on day one. I'd imagine there are a load of you that are. I mean, Aaron Brew was super excited about it. Maybe I'll get more of a buzz as the time approaches, but at the moment, I'm more inclined. I've got a little saving plan for, like, I've got a target of what I wanted to save this year, and I'm on target for it. And every little time I cave in with things like I did today. Well, to be fair, I went out to buy trainers, and because I found a good pair, I bought 2 of them. And then I got some running tops for winter. So I got the stuff that I'd planned to go out and get, but then bought myself the Underworld quadrilogy and the 5th film as well, because it wasn't in the quadrilogy. But it was a little treat. It was only about 20 quid into, it wasn't even that, about 15, 16 quid in total for those Blu-rays. So I am being picky about what I purchase, people. And I'm just not sure I'm going to be willing to fork out 70 quid for a game that I'm not going to play on the channel. And I've still got The Last of Us Part 1 to finish up. I've still got, well, we've got Callisto Protocol coming on the 3rd of December. So, I don't know. And I've still, the gaming I'm doing is probably still going to be, well, Still Rising hopefully will be done and dusted by then. Kings of Amalur, we reckon, can go on for ages because there's so much to do in that game. So I've got plenty to be getting on with, and I don't know that getting Ragnarok Day 1 is going to be something that I feel like I have to do. I might as well just wait off. But you never know, people. As these things come around, you kind of get an itch and you're like, oh, I've got to see it now. But anyway, I love the first one though, but I don't know. Maybe it's a thing. Let me know in the comments below if you get that about games. You kind of loved playing through it, but never felt the need to go back to it kind of thing, which is how I'm kind of there with God of War, really. I don't know what that is. There's a magic, people. There's a certain kind of magic. It's a kind of magic. That's this video. Copyrighted. It's just a little magical something, isn't it? There's in a game that will make you go back to it. Trying to put your finger on what it is sometimes, or the many things that it might be, is quite difficult. But there you are. So, where are we now? I do think that we are approaching the hour mark of me chatting about things, people. So I don't know. Yeah, there's a note there. Matt Booty of Xbox. He wants to show off Fable now, but he's not allowed. But he's super excited about the new Fable game, which is coming from I always forget the name of the studio, but it's coming from the makers of Forza Horizon, I think. Or it's one of the Forza studios anyway, in Britain. In Albion, people. So I am quite excited about that. Fable is a place I love spending time. Fable 2 and 3, I've gone back to those games many times. In fact, we did a playthrough of Fable 3 not that long ago on the channel, and I saw it through and finished it and did all the DLC as well. I think you'll find, people. It's a good play. It's a great playthrough, that. I really enjoyed it. Got to the top of the gold power, got the key, and then I didn't know what to do with the key. I think King Ratfella told me what to do with the key, but I never went back to do it because I'd already said that was me finished with the Let's Play. So if you don't know what I'm on about, when you're playing the game, you build up money, and you go to a room and all of your gold coins are in the room. And you get the gold coins high enough, you can unlock. I know, you pick up a key, and that key unlocks a chest somewhere, which I never got to. I've got the key now, but never went and got the chest, as far as I remember. So yeah, I am really looking forward to Fable, the next Fable 4 or whatever they're going to call it, but the next Fable anyway. It's just whether or not they can give us the magic that Lionhead Studios gave it. As long as they get all the vibes right, hoping that they can, yeah, that music, that sort of British vibe that's in it, and that humour and that quirkiness, and it was almost a kiddish world, but with very dark undertones. I mean, it wasn't a game for kids at all, really. There were very dark stories and very, I'm pretty sure they were 15s, weren't they? Certainly PGs. And they weren't for younger kids, even though they look like they might have been. But I loved those games. Anniversaries, probably the one Fable 1, although it's a great game, because it's so kind of bitty now, it just feels old when you try and play it. The other two kind of feel more open and flowing. The superb stories, and 2 and 3, well, I have this argument, well, it's not an argument, but I always say that 3 is my favourite, and I always get bombarded with like, what? But I think because I played them back to front, I played 3 first, then played 2, and then eventually played the anniversary. But I just loved 3. I don't know, just sat well with me. I think because all the because of all the silly stuff was kind of not in it, and it was all the silly stuff that a lot of people liked, like if you ate too much cake, you got fat and all that sort of stuff. Like that sort of stuff was just kind of to the wayside of 3, but it still had quirky things in, like the little side games and things to make money and what have you. But I found the mechanics and the fighting really cool in 3 as well. Everything had kind of been smooth to a point where it was really fun to do. I really missed that world every time I stopped playing it. So I am super excited about Fable. I think if we go any further into this list, we're going to start delving into articles. So I think we won't. And maybe we'll delve into some of that stuff another time. But to be fair, it's been quite nice not to do a podcast like that. Like most of the podcasts I've always done have been me chatting about what stayed in my head about things and what's kind of buzzing with me at the time. I don't, much as though you guys are probably fine with it, I don't like all of a podcast to be me just reading out article information. It's kind of, I mean, I get a bit bored with watching stuff like that myself on podcasts. So I do like it when it's just my ramblings, people, rather than just reading out what other people have said. That said, sometimes it's nice to have a mix of both, of course, but it's nice to be able to do a podcast ad hocly when I've got the articles jotted down and what have you. And if I've not had much planning, then it's easy to sit down with you and just read the articles out and we'll chat about it. So it's fine. I don't mind doing it, but it has been really nice to sit and do a podcast like this for you where it's just me spinning off with my ideas and thoughts on things. Well, there you are, people. I've no idea how long we've been going for. I think it is about an hour. But if it's a bit shorter, I apologise, but there you are. So there you are. There's my thoughts on the face-off between Callisto Protocol and Dead Space Remake. Let me know in the comments below about all of the topics I've talked about Dead Space, Callisto Protocol, Google Stadia dying, and, well, the other couple of things we talked about, but those things in general, probably the main ones. And there you are. If I talk any more, people, it will just be for no reason whatsoever, and we'll all get a little bit bored. So I'm going to say flagons up to you all once again. I hope you're all keeping well and excited for 2023. There's going to be a shit ton of games in 2023, people. Woo-hoo-hoo! Including Starfield. Just saying. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you in this podcast of mine today. And I shall catch you all in the next one, folks. Take it easy. Bye.